Yes, what's happening, people? Welcome back to another episode of Hustle Smart.
Welcome back.
And yeah, quickly before we start, just want to say a big shout out to my guy Gids Owo for the new instrumental. I know you guys can hear that. You know, we're leveling up, so big shout out to Gids for that as well.
Big shout out.
But today we got a very special guest. We got Lamide Elizabeth in the room. Woo!
Hi.
Could you please introduce yourself to our viewers, our listeners? Tell us a bit about you.
Okay, cool. So, hi everyone. My name's Lamide. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube as Lamide Elizabeth. And I would say, okay, primarily I'm a banker. And I also do YouTube as well. It's been like a year now. I do my YouTube basically based on things that I'm interested. So it started off primarily on banking because I would get a lot of questions on how I got into the firm that I was in, etc. But it's kind of moved now into more like personal development, personal finance, as well as banking. I guess a lot of it stemmed from I just bought my first property like a month ago. Literally a month ago today. Thank you. So kind of moving it in that direction as well. And yeah, I do other stuff. I like run a small business as well, kind of related to what I do online. And introducing myself, I guess, other like titles that I've had or whatever. 2019, I was EY Corporate Finance Woman of the Year. And then also that year as well, I was also rated one of the UK's top 10 Black students alongside your sister as well.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out my sister.
So yeah, I think that's a brief intro.
Yeah, hard. So what's the first question I'll start with? I guess, yeah, my first question to you is why did you start YouTube?
Why did I start YouTube?
Yeah.
There are so many reasons to why I started YouTube, like loads. I think in general, I remember one time, so obviously I've been always known that I was going to start. I knew that I was going to start off in corporate, and I wanted to get into banking. Banking pays really, really well. I've always been, I wouldn't say money motivated, but like coming from where I've come from, like I've always known that I don't want to struggle with money. So I always knew I wanted to get into banking. And I remember like average starting salaries for like the sort of roles that I'm in are like 50k. And so I was like, oh yeah, like this is going to be life. This is going to be it. And I was watching one YouTuber and she does like hair stuff. And she must have been saying, oh, she was setting her goals for the month. And she was like, oh, this month I want to make 50k. I was like, 50k this month? Like that's what I'm looking to make in for my whole year. You're telling me that you can make that in a month. And I kind of realized that like, right, this game is actually rigged. Like everyone tells you, get into education. Get into education. Like that's where all the money is. And then you just see, you know, like I think things are changing. It's good as well. But social media is really powerful. So I knew like from then that, yeah, I need to tap into this market somehow. And I think what really like kind of took me over the edge is I've always enjoyed sharing like what I'm doing, what I'm getting up to. Like I just love it. I just enjoy it and teaching or just sharing with people how I've done what I've been able to do. Yeah. So I started off on LinkedIn actually. I was posting blog posts on like banking and stuff. And then I was like, this is too restricted. And also with LinkedIn as well. Like, or even if you do blogs, it's not as easy for people to find you. So the only people who read your blogs are the people who are already connected. Whereas with YouTube, loads of different people could come across you. Yeah. So that's kind of how I transitioned into YouTube. And yeah, it's really nice. I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's good. So yeah, obviously you said you've always been kind of money motivated, but was that your primary reason as to why you got into banking? Oh. And also, what do you do in banking for those that don't really know?
Cool. So for me, I'm a credit risk banker. So
what does that mean for the listeners?
Yeah. So like I guess like banking is, especially investment banking, is kind of difficult to explain because I think there's so many misconceptions about it. For example, like everyone knows, like for example, we was talking about industry. So industry is an investment banking series, but actually most of the people that was in that series, none of them, except from that one black guy, none of them were actually investment bankers. They were just bankers. They did sales and trading. That's not actually investment banking. So the investment banking side is where you typically see people doing M&As and IPOs. And with that, you have a deal team and you have your legal team. You have the actual M&A investment bankers, and then you also have other teams. So I'm on the credit risk team. And so what that basically means is if the IB team go out and get this client that says we want to take on like, I don't know, 1 million for this client. We're going to go, wait, hold on. We need to assess the client first. Just like how you would go to a bank for a loan and they're going to do a credit check on you. That's what we do, but for institutions and loans. And then if it is more risky, we have to like structure things so that it makes sense for us because depending on how risky the bank is or the institution or the corporation is that you lend to, we also have to hold money against that in case it defaults. So that's kind of what it is. So that's credit risk in general. And why I went into banking is the other question. I think it's kind of like a similar story for most people, but I would say that I kind of chose to go into banking like over and over again because there were so many points where I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it again. So I think first of all, obviously, when you start off, you're in school, you do well, blah blah blah. You feel like there's only a few number of careers that you can go down. I knew it wasn't going to be anything hospital related. My mum was a nurse and I hated going to visit her in the hospital. So that was cancelled. So I thought, okay, cool, law and banking. And then I did like a little insight day at like Clifford Chance and I was like, this is way too boring. And then I ended up thinking, okay, cool, banking was what I was going to do. So that's kind of how that started. Then when I got into like my first year of university, then I started to go to like insight days and stuff and you start to like hear people speak. And then when they would talk about like what they were doing in the hours, I just started to think like, I don't know if this is for me. Like this lifestyle is not it. And I think one thing about me is I've always known that I've always been my happiest when I have loads of things going on. Like during year 13, I dropped everything to focus on getting into uni. When I did my gap year, I was only working. My first year of uni, I wasn't doing anything else as well. And I was like, that was like my most depressing times. I wasn't depressed, but like I knew I wasn't happy during those periods because I was just focused on one thing. Like that's just not me. I love getting my foot into different things. Yeah. So I was like, cool, I can't like go into a division where you're working 9 to 4 a.m. That's not going to work, including Saturdays and Sundays. Like I know I'm not going to be happy. So then I was kind of like, I don't know what I was going to do. Then I think at that point I was reassessing whether I'm going to go into banking or not. But then what swayed me to stay in was the fact that there are other divisions. There are other divisions that aren't like the scary stuff that you read online. Like it's a big place. So that's when I kind of decided to go into credit risk. But then during my internship, it was like, that was like one of the most mentally challenging times. That was difficult. And after that, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. Whilst I was there though, I was like, I'm going to get the offer, like the return offer to get the grad job because I think someone said to me like, be in a position where you make the choice at the end of the day. Even if you want to stay, you want to go, make sure you get the offer so you can make that choice. So I was blinkers on and I was like, those 10 weeks, I did everything I could to make sure that I got the offer. But then I think after that, I was like, okay, I'm not coming back. I pretty much made up my mind I wasn't going to do banking. And then I didn't really know what else to do. Like, to be honest, I was like, I didn't really know what else to do. And then someone must have told me, like, write down what it is that you want from a job, rank them, and then all the other roles that you have in your mind, rank it for each factor. So, for example, work-life balance, money, interest, and then the roles that you want, and then, like, what comes out on top. And so when it came to money, anything in banking, even if you're doing HR, like you're going to be very well paid. So I thought, okay, cool. Yeah. I do want to stay in banking. And it's not just like money for the sake of having money. I had goals. Like I knew I wanted to buy my first property. I need money to do that. Like you need money to buy a property. So I knew money was important to me. And then I knew I wanted a work-life balance. And I thought, okay, cool. Like I could find a division that allows me to do that. And when I told them I wasn't going to come, like they got a lot of people to speak to me to kind of sway me to like, okay, cool. Like it's not going to be like that. That was the internship, like blah, blah, blah. So I guess when I kind of weighed up everything that I wanted, I thought, okay, cool. Banking is going to be the way forward. So yeah, I kind of chose it multiple times over again, but yeah, I really like it though.
I find that with a lot of people that work within finance overall, it's a classic thing. Like you fall in love with it, you fall out of love with it, and you fall back in love with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I can definitely relate to that. You mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned your gap year and also spring weeks. Now, if I cast my mind back to uni, I found out about spring weeks very late, like second year of uni. So how was you introduced to those schemes? 'Cause I know like not a lot of young people even know like those things are even out there.
Yeah, and is that the best route into getting a grad role as well? Would you say?
I think for me, when I want to do something, I will find everyone that is in that place and I will chat to them. So from time I knew in year 12 that I wanted to go into banking, I was already speaking to people who were like first year in the bank and stuff like that. So I already knew before coming to university, I knew the route that I had to go down. Yeah. So for me, because I knew what I wanted to do, I knew the steps that I needed to take to put myself in the best position. So that's how that kind of happened. And I would say it is the easiest path to go down because if you get into a spring week and you convert that to a summer internship and convert that to a grad role, like you don't have to apply over and over again if you can just follow that process. So yeah.
How hard is that process? Like like let's say the interview process for a spring week.
To be fair, I didn't actually get any investment banking offers in my first year. So there you go. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy. And I think that there's just so much that goes into it. When you apply, especially like you think, oh yeah, I've done well in school, I go to a good university, I'm gonna get in, and nah, like it's really not that at all. Especially with Springs where people apply to multiple different places. So I don't think I don't want to say it's easy, but obviously when you do something, you always like, it feels easy to you because you're already there, you've done it, like, why can't you do it? I did it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like in reality, I know when I was going through it, it was quite difficult. There are some places where you can like amend it to your strength. For example, a lot of them you have to do like numerical tests. I hate numerical tests. Like I really don't like them. But like the place that I work and another place that I really wanted to go to as well, they didn't have numerical tests. So I thought I did 3 applications to that place because I'm like, I need to play to my strengths here.
Yeah.
But I think like easy things that you can do to kind of make yourself stand out. Obviously, you need the academics. Like that's a given. Everyone who's applying has that. But then also just being interesting as well, like having other interests. A lot of people who want to go into finance, what finance book should I read? Oh, I'm head of the finance society. Oh, and it's like everyone else is doing that. Like you're not going to be interesting because at the end of the day, you need to be able to do the job. If you've got the good grades, you've got work experience, people know you can do the job. Then it's like, do I want you as my colleague? Like, am I going to be able to chat to you? So I would say, after that, it's just being an interesting person and not throwing everything into finance. You can't speak about anything else but finance. That really helps as well.
Yeah, and like just to echo that, like if you're in an interview, an interviewer is not going to want to speak about quantum physics or a specific regulation. Do you know what I'm saying? They're going to want to know who you are outside of work. So they'll ask you what your interests are. They'll ask you, what do you want to do or like what do you get up to? Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly,
so when people say, be yourself, like I push that a lot because that is something that is definitely important. Like and just to add a bit more context to it, right? So the company that I recently just joined, bro, like I had an interview with one of the Donnies, just a discussion, he was like, just tell me about yourself, like, who are you? I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean, who am I? He's like, talk to me. So it's like, okay, now, he's assessing am I the right fit for the culture. Do you know what I'm saying? My personality fit. So, like, be yourself, man.
What did you say?
Huh? I told him everything.
About the podcast?
Told him about they found the pod, to be fair.
Oh, they found it?
Oh, wow.
They liked it, though.
Oh, yeah, that's
they
good.
liked
It's
it.
a good look, isn't it?
So obviously told him about the pod, like, just told him like my hobbies, gym, chilling out with friends, going out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's me. That's who I am.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you're going to ask you about my weekend, you're gonna get the realness. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
So it's interesting. So now my next question is, how do you find working in finance as a black woman, and as a young black woman actually like that?
Typically I stay away from this topic because I feel like I'm just gonna caveat it by saying I think sometimes when you see a black person and they speak about their experience in a particular institution, people think that because that person has had that experience, everyone else is going to have that experience. And like, that's not true. Like, I'm going to speak about my experience and I'll be honest, but there may be people who have a completely different experience to what I've had because like the bank is big, like investment banking is big, corporate is big, finance is big. But yeah, okay, cool. Where should I start? So I think if I take it back to like right now, my division is quite good because the head of the division is a woman. The step below that is a woman co-chairing it with a man. My manager is a woman. My manager's manager is a woman. So right now, like when it comes to gender, what's it called? Gender equality or whatever. I definitely do see that in my division. And then I would say ethnicity wise as well. In my team, I'm the only black person, which I'm kind of used to, but I'm the only black person. But then there's 2 Irish people, 2 Asian people, 2 like English people, 2 Europeans. So I don't feel like on a day in, day out basis, especially when you're working from home where the only people that I'm really seeing is Zoom, I don't feel like there's an issue. And I'm so happy because I don't have to go to work every day thinking I'm a black woman. I just go to work as myself and I can just be myself. I'm not conscious about who I am. When I was doing the internship though, and I'm in the office and you can see a wide range of people, I definitely noticed that the gender was not an issue again, but like in terms of other ethnicities, there wasn't as many black people. So for example, there was this program that they did where all the black interns got like a mentor in their division. Everyone else had a black mentor. I had a white woman and she was lovely and I really did love her, but it was just that you can tell like there's an issue when you can't even find a black person to mentor me through this process. And this is a program literally called Black XXX. So you can tell that there is an issue there. I think at the analyst level, and it always kind of is, there's a lot more diversity. I think the issue with retaining black people in finance is when you start getting more senior, even with women as well, as you start getting more senior, that's when you start to see like the disparities. But as an analyst, I don't really have any like issues with that. When I have calls with other divisions and stuff and it's more senior people, then you do see just white male. But in general, there's not really an issue. I think that one thing that I would want to say is if you are a black person or black woman going to finance, like, and you're going into a white man dominated world, like the game is the game. Like you have to play the game. If you go in there thinking, oh my God, I'm black. I just think it just doesn't help you. Like it just doesn't serve you at all because you're black. Everyone can see that you're black. The only thing that you can do is use it to your advantage. And like for me, at the time I wasn't really thinking about it, but during my internship particularly, like it definitely worked to my advantage because people remember you. And I had a call like the other day with this MD who I saw during my internship. This is in 2019, but now in 2021. And he was like, oh, like, do you remember me kind of thing? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And he was like, oh yeah, I remember you. And he was saying all these things about me. And I was like, Rah, how do you remember that? But then he's like, how are you not going to remember that? I was the only black person. And I think as well, like during the internship, I was quite bold as well. So I would go to like to their doors. Like I'd get in early, knock on their door and be like, hi, can we go for a coffee kind of thing? And I think that took a lot of them back. Like, Rah, like this, you know, this black girl is coming to me and being like, yeah, let's go for coffee. And that was something that like, people would speak about it a lot. Like I wouldn't really know, but they would say like, oh, like some interns are very MD friendly and others aren't. And they would remember me because I was the only black person. So it kind of worked to my advantage, to be honest. And I think that as well, like I'm so lucky that because I haven't been too conscious about it, every time I've gone into corporate, there's always been like I think people call it sponsors or champions. I've always had like white, male or female like champion and sponsors, people who just ride for me and love me. I don't know if it has anything to do because I'm black or whatever, but there are people who are just like, yeah, like we really want this girl to do well. So it's only worked to my advantage, to be honest. I think that I am quite junior. Maybe when I get more senior and I'm start looking into climbing the ranks, I might feel a bit more like, but I haven't really had many instances. There was one instance that I had during my internship where obviously like when you're doing an internship, everything is about converting. Like everyone wants to get the offer to return. And so everyone's always talking about like, oh, who do you think you get it? Who do you think would get it? And this conversation was actually with the Chinese guy. And he was like, oh, do you think you're going to get it because you're black or you're the only one that's black? And I was so taken aback because like I said, I don't really think about the fact that I'm black all the time. And I was like, Rah, like, do you think you're going to get it because you're Chinese? Because like, what are you trying to say? And he was like, no, but like, I was like, no, if I'm going to get it, it's because in the last 2 case studies that we've done, I've come top 1 and top 2. So if I am going to get it, it's not maybe in addition I'm black, but like I've done well as well. So when I have felt something, it hasn't even been towards people who are more senior to me. So yeah, that's something. But I think being a black woman in finance or a black person in finance, you just have to go in thinking the game is the game. Like use it to your advantage. That's the only thing you can do. You can't go in crying every day like, oh my God, I'm the only black person. Make change. Like when it's time to speak up. But you're going to be there for a while. If you don't play the game, you get left behind. So
for sure.
I agree. It's definitely I think it's definitely something to be aware of because in my experience of, you know, speaking to friends and just colleagues and stuff, obviously like whether they're black or from a different ethnic background, it's just like they always feel the need that they need to fit inside the box. But I'm just like, bro, you don't need to fit in no box. Like, you already stand out. So I'm saying, as you
Too
said,
late.
like you use it to your advantage. But I also think there's a very short window to do that. Do you know what I mean? And you just need to basically exploit it. So like even down to what you done, like going up to an MD's office and asking them for a coffee is bold, is very ballsy. Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can get in trouble. I mean, did I tell you that time? I was working at, this is one of my internships, basically, I wanted to have a coffee with the CEO. So I emailed him, right? And then my manager at the time was like, oh no, like we can't email the CEO, you got to use the correct escalation channels. And I was thinking, fam, he's just a normal guy, man. Like, I just want to just chat to him. Do you know what I mean? So then, like, obviously it didn't really work out for me, but then on my placement year, something like you done, I went up to one of the directors of the division, spoke to him. He was like, oh, like I respect what you done. You know, you had the confidence, you had the balls to come up to me. Like, people older than you don't even do that. And then from doing that, like once I was contracting, so once my contract ended, I was able to get a contract working for him in his office. Oh, wow. Do you know what I'm saying? For over the summer. So like, just have the balls, man.
Yeah, I think that's just in life in general.
Yeah, I agree.
You just have to put yourself out there and kind of see it as like there's only upsides. You 100%. Don't lose anything, but you have like everything to gain.
100%.
You know what I mean? And also, you just have to have an interesting story. Like, everyone's got a story, but it's just how sexy you make it sound. Like, I'm in marketing, so that's what I do.
Yeah.
And like, everyone's legit got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And who you are is always going to be interesting, but it's kind of how you shape it. Do you know what I mean? And
I agree.
like you said, they meet so many people and they don't want like bug standard, boring people. So just you being yourself. Because I even remember, like, for example, when I was at Converse, like I kind of stood out just, firstly because I'm black, but also because I have a story to tell and I have a background that they will be interested in. But
then it was also down to the value that you was adding, because you was providing insight from a complete different angle. Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I'm saying? So
and that's the thing, you could do that in corporate as well. Do you know what I mean? There's so many ways to kind of add value just through who you are. Do you know what I mean? For example, even like just like Capital Moments or one of our last guests talking about how they started doing talks with Barclays and stuff like that because they know they're in the space now and they know there's a huge opportunity for banks to give back to ethnic minorities and stuff like that as well. So being like high agency in a sense of you kind of just do things, you execute a lot and you have a lot of initiative as well will really put you in a good position. But like you said, kind of following the procedures in a sense where you're not getting yourself in any trouble.
Yeah. But I think no matter what you do, whether you're working in corporate or you're an entrepreneur, right, is just have spot an opportunity and have the balls to just press the button and exploit it.
And being black is an opportunity in a 100%. white male dominated industry. It is an opportunity.
So what tips can you give our listeners to get into investment banking generally, but then also to get into obviously your area?
Yikes. That's a broad question. Tips to get into investment banking. Well, I do have a resource bank. My resources are on there, like my CVs, my cover letters and stuff. I teach people. Well, I don't teach people. I share how I was able to do all that stuff because that's a big part of the application process in finance. So check out the resource bank, theresourcebank.co.uk. But in general, I think we've kind of covered it. I would say you need to have the basics of your, the grades and stuff. And then I think the rest is just around strategy. One, strategy in terms of making yourself as interesting as possible. Like I even tell people who are like, oh, I have nothing that's interesting about me. You better go and find something that's interesting about you because what else are you going to do? Yeah. So having something that's interesting about you, strategy-wise as well, in terms of just applying early, because a lot of the times the places will be filled up and they'll just leave the application open. People will still be applying, not knowing the job has already been done. People have signed contracts and everything. So I always say apply early to give yourself the best chance of being, getting your application reviewed. What else would I say? I would say apply to a range of banks. Something that I do see as well is like, people are like, oh, I want to get into Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. So I only made 2 applications. There's like a 1% chance of you getting in. You need to spread your basket wide and apply to as many as possible because at the end of the day, you don't need to get to that desired place straight off of graduating. You've got like what people have like a 30, 40-year career. Even if you have to start off somewhere that isn't where you want to be, do that for 5 years, get as much experience as possible, and then navigate back into banking. Like, you can do that. So make sure you apply to a wide variety of places, because the chances of getting in are quite slim, especially if you don't have a really good application. So I think that's what I would say. Make sure you're reading up on the news and stuff. Like, this stuff is so like, it's been quite a while now, so I don't have it fresh on my mind, but definitely check out my YouTube videos. I cover this quite extensively over there. Yeah,
and on that note, in terms of like reading the news and just staying up to date, so when I was first applying for work in finance, BBC Business Live is very good. It's basically 20 minutes long. I think it comes on at like 8:30, and it just basically gives you just a huge overview of basically what's happening within the market. Do you know what I mean? Trends and whatnot. Obviously, there's the Financial Times, which is good. You might have to pay for it, but I believe there are some free articles. Likewise with Bloomberg as well. But Business Insider is very, very good. And there's something else called Finimize. Finimize, you can download it, and it's just bite-sized information. And the thing is, like, when you are breaking into finance, whether it's consulting or IB, sales and trading, you are gonna need to know what the financial landscape looks like. You're gonna need to know the trends, the themes, and like just what's going on. That is just a general, like, even just have a general conversation. And just a word of advice for the listeners: have an opinion of what you think about it. I remember, oh my days, I remember I was at have you heard of Power List?
Yeah.
So I was at one of the Power List events, and someone asked me, "Oh, what do you think of what's your opinion on the Trump administration and his activity?" I was like, yeah. I was like, it's rough, isn't it? You know what I mean? I was like, and that was like, it put a lot of things into perspective. I was like, raw.
Yeah, you got to stay clear.
Though I know what's happening in the UK, I need to know what's actually happening like overseas.
Sure.
So that's the word of advice.
I think just in general as well, though, like just being clued up. Like, I remember kind of when I was doing like the day in the life, talking about, for example, there's BBC Wake Up to Money, the Financial Times.
Yeah.
Because I stopped listening to the news because I stopped watching TV and I don't listen to radio while driving and stuff. But like, don't consume your news off just social media. Do you know what I mean? You need to know what's going on in the world, and like you said, bite-sized information as well. So I would definitely kind of advise everyone, just so you can even have an opinion and understand what's going on in the world around you, so you kind of know how to maneuver around it.
And even like as you go break into these industries as well, like your social circles, like after work drinks and stuff, you'll be having these conversations. Not all the time, but I found myself like, we're actually having these conversations. Even my friends as well, because all my friends pretty much,
city boys.
Yeah, pretty much a lot of my friends work in finance, so we're having these discussions in the group chat on the weekends. You know what I'm saying,
city boys, man.
It's weird. It's weird. It's like it's like we've all grown, but So next thing, obviously, bought your first property.
Congratulations.
Congratulations for that. But I also came across one of your videos about how you was able to save such a large sum of money, throughout your duration. So you can just explain that to our listeners, and also provide like some tips, and if there's any tools that you use as well.
Okay. Well, that's quite a big question. But okay. I think with finance and money, it's definitely a mindset thing. I think for me, when I was growing up, we were good as a family. Like, we were good financially for a period of time, and then there was a period of time my mum got ill, and so she couldn't work for like a year. And I think out of that, I stopped being able to ask her for money. This was like year 9, year 10. I felt like I couldn't ask her for money anymore, because I knew what position she was in. I just wanted new trainers, but I knew that my mum, she can't do that right now. And the thing is, if I would have asked her, she probably would have given it to me, but I just knew I didn't feel comfortable doing it. You just sew on a African print, a pocket or stuff like that. That's what we were doing. That's what I started off doing. That was to kind of get money for sixth form.
I remember that trend.
yeah. And I think that saving is like, and just finance is like a muscle. So you need to keep flexing it. Because when people are like, oh, how are you able to save? How are you able to save? Like I had a money mindset from very, very young because I struggled. So I had no choice to kind of have that mindset. Whereas certain other people where, you know, they're like some of my friends when they're like, you know, I've never had to think about money because my parents have always covered everything. They didn't really think about finances too much. And now they're kind of struggling. Whereas I went through that struggle when I was younger. So I was like, growing up, I was like, you know, I need to be secure financially. And that's kind of how I've always thought about it. So I think that then when it came to like actually saving, first of all, I did a gap year. So when I didn't get into the university that I wanted to get into, which was the London School of Economics, I basically took a gap year and I worked. And this was my first time like getting money. I was working in CE, doing like insurance. So then everyone was at uni. I had nothing to do. So it was very easy for me to save. But then I started learning like little bits and bobs about like saving and stuff. So I saved all of that. Then I went into uni. Actually, like in my first year of uni, I got so much student loan, obviously, because I didn't come from a privileged background. And then I was going to uni in London and I was living out. Like I got so much money. I didn't say like I got like, because my uni also gave out loads of bursaries. Let's say I got like £12,000. I only saved like 2,000 or so. Like I spent like all of that money, spending it on everything and anything. Like I just did not care. And I think because I knew I had like a cushion of money as well. Like it got to like December of my first year and I had no money, like because the money that I did have was locked away in an ISA and I couldn't get it out. So then I even had to like ask my boyfriend for money at that time. Like that's how I was a bit reckless with it. I'm not going to lie. But then I started thinking, okay, cool. Like that was first year, you know, get that out the way. You need to start focusing on your finances again. And I knew that I had a goal to you know, buy a property. So I think what happened? I think everything that was like a disadvantage to me, I kind of flipped it on its head. So like going to uni in London, that's like an L to most people. They're like, what? Why would you want to go to uni in London? Like, you're still at home.
I was just thinking, that's mad.
You're still at home. Like, London is expensive and everything. But I thought, actually, if I go to uni in London and I live in London, I can move back home in my second and third year. That is going to save you a lot because when I was living out, rent was £200 a week. And that was for a box. I didn't even have an ensuite, nothing. Wow. It was £200 a week. So I moved home. I was able to save loads of money through that. And then obviously I was going into banking. With banking, summer internships are very, very lucrative, like minimum 10K. So I was able to do that as well. And then I just knew that you just need to pocket all of this stuff. And especially because I knew that I had the goal of wanting to buy property. When you have a goal, like even that £10,000 that you thought was a lot and you realize that you need to put down 25% deposit on a house, you're like, that's nothing. And then I think because of that, I just kind of knew that, yeah, I've got to go. I want to do it. So I just started saving aggressively, basically. And I think another thing with saving as well is I think the easiest way to save is to make more money. Like if you're already living on like
100%,
you're already, you know, like the budget is already tight and you're thinking, oh, I need to save. Let me tighten the budget a bit more. Like it's hard, man. I think the easiest way is just to increase your streams of income, and then you can literally allocate one income stream to saving, allocate one income stream to spending. So yeah, that's kind of how I kind of thought about it and how I was able to save quite a bit.
That makes a lot of sense. So just quickly, because I have two questions, I want to touch on. So what was your experience getting your first property? Like, did you have a strategy behind it? And also, just after touching on like the income streams as well, because like you said, like you can only save a certain amount if you're earning a certain amount. So like other ways in which you've probably found other ways to kind of start making some extra income as well.
So the first question was, how was the process?
Yeah, what was your experience like, and did you have a certain strategy? For example, like you knew you had to have the money there, but did you try and see other ways in which you can save it? Did you do it up, or did you just get it like that?
Okay, so I think with the property strategy, I think so. I bought like quite quickly, like 3 months after. Basically, I knew I had like 30 grand saved by my third year, but you can't buy a house if you don't have a job, regardless of how much money you got saved. Unless your parents are backing you, you can't buy a house.
That's a healthy stack to save after uni, man.
Yeah, I was quite diligent with it.
Good.
So I knew that, okay, cool. There's this principle that this woman taught me, like Aisha Fori. She was working in Goldman Sachs as an ED, and she kind of left because she was making like 2-3 times her income from her property stuff. And she was telling me, like, you have the 3 things you need to make money: time, knowledge, and what's the other one? Time, knowledge, money. Yeah, time, knowledge, and money. Yeah, because you can use money to make money. And I was like, okay, cool. Like the money, I'm still working on it because even the 30 grand, it's still not, it still wasn't enough. When you have to put down a 25% deposit, it still wasn't enough. So I was like, okay, cool. The money, I'm working on it, but I'm in my third year. Yeah, cool, whatever. But I know I'm on a track to get a 2-1. I'm not really interested in getting a first. I'd rather get a property and some extra experience and like build up myself than like try and like go hard for a first. For what reason? I'm going to end up in the same job anyways. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to split my resources to kind of get into to know like what the property world is about. So my second and third year, like I was working for her basically. I would help her at her events and stuff. And so what that meant was I could go into these rooms with like when we the one of her first events that we went into like a £20 million house that was up for sale, and they were like, oh, if you know anyone that could buy, like who wants to? I was like, who do I know that wants to buy a 20 million? Like, but that was the sort of rooms that I was in. Sure. So I was speaking to these people, and yeah, that's what I was spending my time doing, just getting that knowledge. And so when I decided to get a property, I knew quite a bit already, because you can decide you want to buy a property and then there's a whole bunch of learning that you need to do. But I had already doing that even before I had the money ready. But I got a sourcer from the Black Property Network, and he basically like found the property for me, and then from there, like anytime I had a question, I would just go back to him and be like, you know, like I don't know about this, like what do you think? And that was kind of how I did it that way. It wasn't actually that difficult of a process. The longest part was definitely saving the money, and then finding the property was hard, but then I got a sourcer because I was like, this is too much to kind of balance. So that was kind of how I went about it. It was long though. It was very, very long. Like I started in October and we didn't close till March. So for me, I thought it was just going to be find the property and then that's it. But after I found the property, it was like another 4 months. I was like, nah, this is long.
Yeah, a lot of people underestimate how long it actually takes to buy a property. And even if you're doing it yourself, like it's exhausting looking for properties, crunching the numbers. Then you got to speak to an estate agent. If it's not an estate agent, then obviously you got to speak to developers and whatnot. Yeah,
and deals fall through as well. I had a lender fall through. They were like, first, where did you get your money from? Your parents aren't backing you. Like, there's no way she saved this amount, blah, blah, blah. And like, we were just about to go ahead and then they were like, no, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, the process is long. Yeah. You had another question.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely sounds like a very long process. So yeah, my second question was touching on increasing your income, finding different income streams as well. So you mentioned, which is really true, money, time, and also knowledge for sure, because that's one thing we've noticed as well, that there's so many ways in which you can monetize knowledge, or just being curious and being able to package information in a sexy way. But anyways, so yeah, I know you kind of do something with like the resource bank as well, and you started YouTube as well. But kind of, what was kind of your ways in thinking of how you can get extra income and stuff that probably come natural to you as well?
Yeah, so I think one thing that someone really explained, like an analogy that someone used about multiple streams of income, is like, if you think about a table, if it has one leg, like, okay, cool, like fairly stable, but a table that has like 4 legs, like how much more stable is that compared to a table with 1 leg? That's how I kind of think about multiple streams of income. Like the more legs you have, like the more stable you're going to be. And I think one of my biggest goals even till now is to have like financial freedom. And I think that's very different to being financially comfortable, because banking or corporate career will make you financially comfortable. Like you've got a good paycheck coming in and stuff, but it does not give you freedom. You can't even say I want to work from this and that place without having to sign like so many different papers or them just saying no. You can't just say I want 3 months off and whatever. Like nah, like there's no financial freedom in a corporate job unless you have something else going on the side. So I knew that, okay, cool, I need to have other things going on, like on the side. I didn't really know where my income streams were going to come from, but I was like, okay, cool, I just want to do something. YouTube, I did know that I can make money from it. So I kind of started YouTube. And the good thing about YouTube is you build a community. And when you build a community, you can see where they need help, because they keep asking you this certain question. How do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And you realize, actually, there's an opportunity here. If you really want to know what a cover letter looks like, what a CV looks like, I can help you. But you can't, it's a lot difficult to do when you don't have the community surrounding you, asking you those questions. So YouTube definitely opened up that avenue. And so then I opened up the resource bank, and then I exploited LinkedIn as well, because I think especially when you're trying to go for multiple streams of income, you need to know what platforms your people are going to be on.
Mhm.
For me, for people interested in banking, all of that stuff, LinkedIn was the place to be. Like, it was the place to be. And so that's how I started marketing like the resource bank, and it blew up like on LinkedIn. Like, it did so well. I only expected to make a couple thousand, and we made like 5 figures in like 3 months because like this was something that people wanted.
Yeah.
And like I would do market research as well. Like when there was this other like big banking YouTuber, and he was selling one cover letter for £30, whereas I was like, oh, that's a bit expensive. Okay, I'm going to sell 6 cover letters for £30. Doesn't take anything away from me. So yeah, and I really love selling things online as well, because like a couple of times I've thought about doing like a physical product, but like the margins on physical products is it's stress. You got to think about packaging and all of that stuff. Like I could sell. When I set up the resource bank, it took 2-3 orders and I made all the money back. And then like everything after that was like 90% margin. So that was a really good thing. But I think one thing that I genuinely thought about was I can't have too many active streams of income. It's not going to work with this career. It's just not. I can't be doing, banking and then also be like packaging orders and then also be making YouTube videos and then also be trying to be a photographer. It's not going to work. I need to think of passive income streams because my job already, like, and that's like my priority, isn't it? So I was like, yeah, cool. I need passive income stream. So the resource bank was a passive income stream. YouTube is quite active, but I've been able to manage it in a way where I can manage it, to be honest. Like before I started work, I made sure I was like 2 months ahead of content so that if things go crazy and I can't record for a month, I've still got videos there to be consistent on. And I think that's kind of how it's been growing. And then with YouTube, like people will tell you, like as soon as you have an audience there, you can monetize that in so many different ways: sponsorships, selling products, affiliate links. And so that's how most of it has come. But the resource bank and like my property as well has been important to me because I don't want to build so many income streams that rely on my face. Like YouTube relies on me to be there. Whereas if I'm sick for a year, God forbid, the property will still keep going. So the tenant's still going to need to be there. The resource bank, people will still see my old videos and then go click on it and buy it. And even when I haven't posted about it, it's still kept going. So I think passive income streams has been like a big thing that I've thought about to just give me more financial freedom, I would say.
Yeah, no, I love that. You covered quite a lot. Because a lot of people struggle to make money. Like that's just reality. People, like I remember when I first clocked how to make money, and I was like, shit. But just to simplify it, right? This is simply it. People have problems. You see an opportunity to give them a solution. You're exchanging value, so you make sure you put a price on it so you can get some money from it. Simple as. So in your situation, you went through all the hardship. You went through all the hardship in terms of finding a job, and then you also did really well in terms of keeping track of like your cover letters, your CVs and stuff like that. And you also built a community. When you're kind of building a community, you kind of hear their pains and you can start. And it's very natural. You're not exploiting anything. You are actually freeing them of their pain. Do you know what I mean? And you got to put a price on that because they're willing to pay for it just to kind of, and you also have testimonials to prove that. So you have social proof as well. So just also knowing that you kind of are solving a problem. So like you said, doing some market research, figure out, listen to what other people are doing. And secondly, you also said finding the right platform. You have to fish where the fishes are. Like you'll fall on deaf ears if there's no fish over there looking for your product. And also we're in a digital gold rush right now. So even for like you can build something once and sell it X amount, like there's no limit to it. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like once you start kind of figuring out these things and start looking into different ways, like what do you know that other people don't know? Like what is your superpower? What is the specific knowledge you have? And if you don't have the specific knowledge, now's a great time to start doing some research. For example, so I do marketing. I kind of knew that I needed kind of a way in. So I need like just to be in certain conversations because I swear to you, some of the conversations I've been in is like, how the hell am I here? But it's because I managed to sell it in a way like, I do marketing, I'm young, I can help you. So even just saying to someone like, hey, I would love to, like, because when I was younger, I was doing so much free work for people, right? I'll just be there just to be there and kind of get something out of it in the long run. But because I'm helping it with either social media, and everyone uses social media, like legit, I was no different. I had no tips and tricks that no one else could find. You know what I mean? Like hashtags and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and now obviously as I do it more is much more different now. But just getting started out, finding a skill, just trying different things, and also you will never know what you love or what you like to do or how you can make something out of what you're currently doing if you don't start doing things. So it's definitely doing things as well that can help you get to that position. So I'm definitely with you. And also, like you said, finding other passive streams and also making sure you've got a solid stream first, you know what I mean? Because if you're putting 10% here, 10% there, 10% there, you can't expect 100% back, do you know what I mean? So like you said, definitely doing it in stages, like you made sure you got your job, and also just listen to find other ways in which you can offer value to people.
Yeah, I really agree. And I think one thing that I like that you said as well is before I started, because I think sometimes you hear, okay, cool, passive income, all right, cool, tomorrow I need to start my own business. Like sometimes you gotta chill and just think, okay, cool. Like I was watching videos of passive income streams for like the past maybe like 3 years. And it's only really in the last year that I've been able to build them really quickly. So there is a point where you're just building knowledge. Like don't go rushing into something and then you have a crap product and then you can only sell once because everyone buys it and then they're like, actually, no, we're not interested in it, because that income stream won't last long. So sometimes you do need a period of just learning. Like that is definitely a stage before you go and implement. Just learn. Like I didn't know that the resource bank was going to come about like when I had YouTube. I genuinely didn't. I was just genuinely putting out content, and then I saw the opportunity and I took advantage of it. So I would say don't rush into it, because it's better to get an income stream that you have and then it's consistent and you don't have to keep looking for new income streams all the time because you have one that you can build out, then try to rush into something and then like it doesn't work out, or you have wasted energy and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think also what you were saying about like working for people for free, that's literally what I was doing as well. And that is exactly a prime example of exchanging your time for knowledge, and that you can make money that way.
What did you call it? Sweat value or something?
Yeah, sweat equity.
Sweat equity.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, definitely. And also you got to find out what works for you. So at first I was very much obsessed with getting my first property, but kind of understanding that, so just doing the numbers and like I said, the digital gold rush in terms of build something once, so X amount of times, like as many times as you want. And also just kind of weighing the numbers. So for example, like I could sell a product online, high ticket, which is say like £999, right, for one person. And I could have a property and also get £999 rent, but also kind of just weighing up what's actually more practical. Like, for example, even in terms of rent, there's also like net profit. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to like a digital product, like you said, you kind of first 3 orders, you got your money back. So it's finding what works for you, because a lot of people try to look sexy. They try to.
I agree.
They try to get that Instagram pic with the keys and the bottle of champagne and everything. And it, honestly, like hats off to those people that did it, because honestly, it like you've showed us that it's not easy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I feel like I said, once I figured out how to make money, like there's so many different ways, and there's so many different ways that it could work better for you, rather than you chasing what everyone else has shown you on YouTube or whatever, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I like 101% agree. Like, as I always tell people, you can't make someone else's goals your goals. Just because someone else said, oh yeah, I bought my property at 23, you're like, oh, I'm 24. Like, how come I haven't done that yet? If that's not in your interest, don't do it, because £40,000, you can put that into a business and get that back out like in a year. I have to wait a very long time before I really see like the benefits of this property. Like it's going to be a while, but it was something that I knew that I wanted to do, because I don't have like, no one's passing me on any properties, but I want to be able to pass on my kids' properties. So for me, it was really important. But don't make someone else's goals your goals. Like, especially on social media, like everyone tells you, yeah, you got to do this, then you got to do that, and you got to get your house, then you got to get an apartment. Like, nah, that's one way to just kill yourself. And you'll do it and you won't even be happy, because you're like, then someone else will say, oh no, the best way is to, I don't know, get into crypto. Then you're like, oh man, I need to get into crypto. Like, listen, do what works for you, man.
Sure.
Do what works for you.
End of the day, social media, everyone's trying to flex, man.
Yeah, everyone's trying to look as sexy as they
Do you
can.
know what I mean?
Don't blame them, but just do what works for you, man. 'Cause honestly, like you even mentioned kind of the emotional feeling and like reward you get from it, which is being able to hand something over. And that's a great way to see it. It's not because you're like, so I can flex and everyone say, I got mine at 23, what about you? Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's super important. So what are you working on now, or like what can our listeners kind of expect from you in the future?
Ooh, oh my God, this question always gets me.
Because people come in here, they don't want to plug themselves. Plug yourself. Like, what are you doing? Like, how can our listeners find you? What can they get involved in?
Oh, I mean, I guess in terms of finding me, I think YouTube, Instagram, Lamide Elizabeth. On my YouTube channel, I'm kind of taking people through the process of me getting the property. So I vlogged, like I recorded myself like throughout the whole process because, like you were saying, I think when I would go on social media, I'd see someone be like, "Oh, I just bought my first property," but then it's like, how though? Like, what was that process actually like? So I literally recorded my process from the first time I spoke to my first ever broker till till like the end basically. So I've been sharing that to try and help as many people as possible, and then also just trying to go into more depth in like the numbers and stuff, and just that in general, and then just also other stuff if you're interested in banking as well. Also do banking content and just personal development content. So yeah, I definitely hit up my YouTube channel if you're interested in banking and you want to see, because there are loads of stuff out there that will tell you what you should have on your cover letter and what you should have on your CV, but you don't get as many stuff showing you this is what a successful CV looks like, this is what a successful cover letter actually looks like. So that you can find that on the resource bank. That's always going to be there. And then on Instagram it's just kind of a bit of everything. I'm just kind of just doing whatever.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, there you go, lifestyle. And then I think in terms of like the future and stuff, I don't want to divulge too much, but I'm definitely working on a couple things. I think something that I am quite passionate about is like this, like helping people who have corporate jobs have getting them to have, if they want to get them to have other things going on outside of it, because I think banking can very much be the golden handcuffs where you kind of, everyone goes into it saying 3 years time, 5 years time, I'm going to be out. And then it's like, you're still there. And then it's like, well, I can't find anything else that's going to pay me as much or whatever. And I think one thing that I noticed, I knew that before I was going in, and I was saying like, when you're starting and you're working now 12 hours, it's very hard for you to find other things that you can pour your time into. But for me, I knew going into it, I need to build stuff so that when I want to leave, if I ever do want to leave, I have that option. So, I'm very passionate about that. So if you are going into corporate and you know that that's something that you'd want to do in the future, then defo follow me and stuff, and we'll have something for you.
Amazing. So just some quick fire questions. What's the best advice you've ever received, and what's the worst advice you've ever received?
Oh my God, I hate questions like this. I can't do quick fire.
Cool. What's the best advice you'll give to our listeners? Not just about banking, just the best advice, that something you practice that has really been able to help you.
Every decision that you make, question every decision that you make and where it comes from, because depending on what you're consuming, sometimes that affects the decisions that you make and the goals that you have. Like all of a sudden you want to buy a property now, but is that just because you've seen people on Instagram and stuff? So every decision that you make sure it's for you, because if you make a decision for you, it always works out for you. And that's what I've found for myself. I always base everything around my goals, and I've made my best decisions because I've always thought about me.
Love that. Worst advice you've ever received?
I don't know.
All right, cool. No worries.
What's the worst advice you ever received?
Worst advice I've ever received, probably like something along just putting my head down and doing the work. Because there's so much to it. Like everyone works hard. Like you work hard, I work hard, you work hard, Remy works hard. Our listeners work hard because they're trying to better themselves. But there's, like you said, you just got to play the game.
Do you know what I think is crap? Sorry. Do you know what I think is crap that I always see? There's no one gave it to me, but on social media, like, like everything that's meant to be for you will be for you. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it will all come to you. I think that's crap. I hate those things. I think that is so much crap. Yeah. That when you were saying that just reminded me.
Because you just be sitting on your ass thinking the universe is just going to give it to you, but you have to demand it.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean?
I definitely agree in manifesting, and I'm an advocate of that.
Yeah.
But you have to take the steps to make it happen.
No, definitely.
100%.
But even so when I said the game is rigged, you have to understand what game you're playing and how to play it best. Do you know what I mean? Like even me, for example, just real life example, right now, so my marketing agency, right? There was a time where I peeked my head through the curtain and I saw how others are doing it. And instead of me just churning tons of work and just doing sleepless amount of hours of work, do you know what I mean? Seeing how other people are doing it, making 10 times more, getting better results, getting better clients. That's kind of how it's just the whole idea of hustling smart. Do you know what I mean? I kind of figured out, okay, cool. This is how these people are going on holiday and building millions like worth of business. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So understand the game you're playing and try your very best, like you said, reaching out to people who you aspire to be, understanding how they got to where they are. Because a lot of people say, yeah, man, I had to sacrifice this. And a lot of people have to sacrifice stuff, but you can sacrifice different stuff, right? So like, don't listen to people thinking, yeah, like, wake up at 4 a.m. Like, trust me, you just have to work hard, eat shit, stuff like that. Because there's definitely periods of that, but also understanding you can't do that for the rest of your life because you'll just burn out. Do you know what I mean?
And on that note, like, as much as you're in your own lane, right, there's nothing wrong with comparing yourself to people. But don't compare yourself to people and use that as a benchmark. But compare yourself to people and identify what mistakes they've made, and then like use the lessons learned and apply that to your own journey.
Yeah, man. Play the game smart, man. Hustle smart. That's legit. Everything we stand on. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing all your knowledge and advice. Before we end, we always end with a word of the week. So what's your word of the week or what's your phrase of the week for our listeners going into this new week?
Oh, I was not expecting. Word or phrase?
Whichever.
Whichever one.
I just keep throwing you on the spot, don't I?
Like, you could have told me.
Get your mind thinking. What's something resonating with you a lot right now?
Oh my God, like, I can't think on the spot. Honestly, I don't know.
Or it could be even something that you say all the time.
Yeah, a mantra you practice.
I can't come and kill myself.
Fairs. Listen, guys.
That's it.
We're in a panoramic right now. You can't kill yourself.
That's it, man.
Make sure you're resting, taking good care of yourself, your mental, your physical, your emotional, you know. This life is tough, but we can't kill ourselves. Word to Lamide, do you know what I mean?
That's it.
But thank you everyone for listening. Thank you to all our lovely viewers. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, tell your peoples. Alex, any other things?
Oh, yeah. Like, share, comment, subscribe, drop us a DM, drop us an email, whatever. Make sure you hit up Lamide on YouTube, Instagram, Resource Bank as well. We'll include all the links and whatnot. But no, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. And also, we have so many exciting things coming as well. So
you're gonna announce it now or after?
They'll see.
You'll see, man.
They'll see in a bit. They'll see what we were talking about.
Yes, people, Hustle Smart is very proud to announce that we'll be hosting our first ever masterclass, a branding and marketing masterclass on Saturday, the 1st of May. We will be covering everything you need to know to grow your business online. Masterclass is going to be hosted by Shubbz, a digital marketing specialist, Tiffany T, a branding strategist, and Brian Kofi Hollinsworth, a branding and social media consultant. And get your tickets now via our website, hustlesmart.co.uk. Looking forward to seeing some of you there.
But yeah, thank you guys once again, and always remember to focus on things that move the needle. Bow.